Have you ever wondered what happens when those entrusted with upholding the law become the very embodiment of its betrayal? In the shadows of justice, a disturbing truth lurks: corrupt cops. These individuals, who are supposed to protect and serve, sometimes find themselves entangled in a web of deceit and malpractice. But fear not, for this is the story of their downfall, the moment when the light of truth shines brightest and justice prevails. Join us as we delve into the world of when corrupt cops get caught. Cop gets caught smuggling drugs. It's rare to see police officers getting arrested by their fellow officers, but when people have a lot of power, they also have a big responsibility. Some officers abuse their authority and take risks. This often leads them to getting into serious trouble. For example, there was a case where a police officer named Armando Trevino was caught making a drug deal while wearing his uniform back in May 2019. The Public Integrity Unit investigators intercepted a phone call between a jail inmate and someone else trying to arrange a drug deal to bring drugs into the jail. The San Antonio Police Department, the FBI and the IRS, the Texas Rangers, and the Bexar County Sheriff's Office all got involved in a thorough investigation of Trevino's actions. Sheriff Javier Salazar reported that the investigation team followed Trevino and found him meeting another suspect named Rudy Anthony de la Cruz at a gas station on Broadway Street in Loop 410. Once the drug transaction was completed, the officers moved in and arrested both men. They observed the narcotic transaction taking place and made the arrests. It's important to note that the deputy was wearing his uniform and had a weapon with him at the time of the arrest, even though he wasn't a peace officer. It was clear that he intended to smuggle the drugs into the Bexar County Jail, but they arrested him before he could complete the plan. Trevino was dishonorably dismissed from the police force on June 27, 2019, just a month after the arrest. According to Sheriff Salazar, they found heroin and Suboxone in Trevino's possession, as well as his accomplices. Trevino had been an officer for 5 years, and the sheriff believes he had been involved in drug smuggling for a significant amount of time. Sheriff Salazar commented that Trevino was resourceful and went to great lengths to hide his crimes. The sheriff also expressed his disapproval of the officer's actions, stating that he had breached the public's trust. He emphasized that this kind of behavior is unacceptable. The case had connections to organized crime, which the FBI special agent in charge, Christopher Combs, acknowledged. Trevino has now been formally indicated on 6 charges, including organized criminal activity, bribery, and possession with the intent to deliver controlled substances. Police captain gets tipsy. Earlier this year, a police captain in Oklahoma City was stopped and arrested for driving while under the influence. During the investigation, the captain repeatedly asked the officer to turn off his body camera. The incident happened when Sergeant Christopher Skinner pulled over Captain James Matthew French, who was 55 years old, at midnight on March the 12th. Sergeant Skinner noticed that French's SUV was swerving and made a turn without using the signal. Body camera footage released by the Oklahoma City Police Department showed French sitting in his vehicle in the driveway of the home he claimed to live in with his mother. As the officer approached the SUV, he asked French if he had been drinking.
I'm a captain on the police department.
What police department?
Oklahoma City.
French responded by pointing to his chest and quietly asking the officer to turn off the camera. Sergeant Skinner was initially confused by the request and ignored it, proceeding to question French about how much he had been drinking. However, French seemed hesitant and remained silent for a while. When the officer repeated the question, French once again requested that the camera be turned off. The officer firmly replied that he would not turn off the camera, stating, "I'm not turning my camera off, okay?" Officer Skinner continued to question him about the evening and where he had been. French claimed that he had been at a poker game and had consumed 3 or 4 beers, with the latest drink being about 2 hours before the traffic stop. Sergeant Skinner proceeded to ask French to perform the mandatory field sobriety test. However, the intoxicated police captain struggled greatly during the tests, unable to maintain his balance during the walking test. Realizing that he was in trouble, French once again pleaded with the officer to turn off the camera. The officer assured him that he would turn it off once the investigation was complete. However, French persisted in his request, stating that he simply wanted to talk to the officer and reiterating that he was a police captain. Sergeant Skinner responded, "I'm a sergeant and I've taken an oath to uphold the law."
I don't show favoritism to anyone, regardless. I don't care if you're a gangbanger or the President of the United States.
Skinner had some more incidents where people died, but French didn't finish them. Because of this, the officer had to put French in handcuffs. Once the handcuffs were on, the sergeant finally turned off his body camera. According to a report, French was arrested and charged with driving under the influence of alcohol and not using a signal to indicate a turn. Chief Wade Gorley from the Oklahoma City Police Department praised the arresting officer for being professional, even though the police captain kept asking him to turn off his camera.
The officer did exactly as he should have and handled it very professionally, in my opinion.
The officer responded in the right way, according to Gorley. The investigation into French's arrest is still happening, but the captain has been temporarily removed from duty. The investigation has also found that French was driving an SUV owned by the city at the time of the incident. A registered sexual predator. This is a story about a police officer named Jalen Devon Flair, who was arrested in 2020 for doing inappropriate things with a young girl. The arrest happened after a 4-month investigation into the officer's actions. The case started when someone reported to the police that an unknown man had done inappropriate things with a minor. The police looked into it and found that they were 4 victims, all between the ages of 9 and 14. The officer is also accused of contacting more than 40 other young people, mostly through Snapchat, and asking them for sexual favors. However, the investigators could not find all these young people to confirm their ages. These incidents took place over 2 weeks in March and April in 2020. The prosecutor in the case said that the officer purposely looked for young girls, offering them money to meet him, and even encouraged them to bring their young friends along.
Multiple 12-year-old girls. Do you have any younger friends who are interested in older men?
Wang admitted to contacting many young girls and encouraged them to ask their friends for money. He was charged with 20 sex offenses involving 4 minors and later pleaded guilty. The judge was shocked by his actions and sentenced him to 12 years in prison without probation. He will also be registered as a sex offender for life. Flair's attorney stated that he accepted responsibility for his actions and apologized to his friends, family, law enforcement, and the victims' families. Flair enrolled in a treatment program to recover and ensure he doesn't harm anyone again. As we conclude our exploration into the world of corrupt cops, it becomes apparent that no institution is immune to the influence of corruption. However, it is essential to remember that the actions of a few should not tarnish the reputation of the countless dedicated and honorable law enforcement officers who serve with integrity. Stay tuned for more thought-provoking discussions that challenge our perceptions and empower us to create positive change.